I'd like to call to order the Albany City Council meeting for July 20th, 2026. If you are in the lobby, please feel free to come in and join us. Or not. Councilmember Lopez, would you please read the land acknowledgement?
Will do. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated villages of Lishan. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationship with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home.
Thank you. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Jordan should be here shortly. Councilmember Lopez.
Present.
Councilmember Mickey.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hanson Romero will be here shortly, and Mayor McQuaid.
Here. There is no closed session, so that brings us to ceremonial matters as the city clerk sprints to the lobby. It's not the track team. No time to be shy. Actually, if the team would like to join me over here at the podium, that would be great. We are very honored this evening to have with us the Albany High School national champion team in Ultimate Frisbee. Congratulations, gentlemen. This might be the first Albany High School national championship team ever. I don't know of any others. So we have a certificate for you tonight. Certificate of recognition. The Albany City Council commends Albany High School Ultimate Frisbee team in recognition of your national championship. Signed, Peggy McQuaid, Mayor. Would one of you like to come up and say something, or your coach? Don't be shy, we're only on TV.
I guess I'll speak to you all. It's been, for me at least, I'm a graduating senior. It's been a long 4 years with this program. I think this group of people this year have bonded the most and worked the hardest out of any team I played with. I think I can say we deserve this win, and because we fought hard at every practice and at every tournament. We played with respect with our opponents. Last year, we got third in spirit score, which is this thing they do to rank how good each team is spirit-wise. I'm not sure what we got this year, but obviously we came out with first place, so that matters to us a lot more. And I think the two coaches we had this year put a lot of effort in, and yeah, we wouldn't be able to do it without them. They put a bunch of effort into each practice and each tournament, and it's super draining for them too. And then lastly, the parents, of course, helping us on the sidelines, helped a lot with food and transport and obviously paying for everything. So we wouldn't be able to do anything without the parents either. So yeah.
Thank you. And I would like to add that it's also a community effort. I believe you got funding from the Albany Community Foundation, the Albany Education Foundation, and the Albany Rotary Club. And we're all so proud of you. And if you'd like to come up, we're happy to come down and take a picture with you all, if you'd like that. Good job. Okay, that brings us to the second ceremonial matter, item 4-2, proclamation in recognition of Disability Pride Month. Councilmember Mickey will read the proclamation.
City of Albany Proclamation in recognition of Disability Pride Month, July 2026. Whereas on July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed into law the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, landmark civil rights legislation designed to ensure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunity as all other Americans, establishing a national mandate to eliminate discrimination and promote inclusion. And whereas the ADA protects the civil rights of millions of Americans with disabilities, recognizing people with disabilities as the nation's largest minority community. And whereas people with disabilities contribute every day to the strength and vitality of our communities as leaders, artists, educators, students, workers, volunteers, entrepreneurs, public servants, family members, and neighbors, enriching our communities, culture, and collective human experience. And whereas Disability Pride Month celebrates disability as a natural part of human diversity, it reminds us of the importance of advancing accessibility, equity, and full participation so that all people have the opportunity to thrive. And whereas the City of Albany reaffirms its commitment to building an accessible, inclusive, and welcoming community where people with disabilities are valued, respected, and empowered to participate fully in civic and community life. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Albany City Council hereby proclaims July 2026 as Disability Pride Month in the City of Albany and encourages all residents to recognize the contributions, talents, and achievements of people with disabilities and to work together to advance a more accessible and inclusive community. Signed, Peggy McQuaid, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 5, the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A reminder that it is election nomination period for candidates interested in running for office for either the City Council or the Albany Unified School District Board of Education. There are 2 seats on City Council, 4 seats on the Board of Education. The nomination period is open until Friday, August 7th at 12:30 p.m. Those interested in pulling papers should contact our city clerk to make an appointment for that service. Our fall activity guide was recently released. It includes all activities for all ages this fall. Fall registration begins August 4th at 9 a.m., so be sure to be ready to sign up for those classes as they can be filled quickly. Another program opportunity, as a reminder, school starts very soon on August 12th. The city's Friendship Club after-school program is now taking registrations. Already underway, so be sure to sign up soon. This is a safe, welcoming, enriching environment for our children to learn and play together. The program serves children entering 1st through 5th grade and operates on the Albany School District dismissal times and calendar. Register today to reserve your child's spot. We have a homeowners and tenants fair, resource fair coming up August 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Albany Community Center. This will be information of all sorts related to homeowners and tenants, just to try and provide the information in one place and make it as fun and user-friendly as possible. As part of the evening, we will have a presentation from Echo Housing from 6:30 to 7, covering the city's rent review ordinance, tenant and landlord rights and responsibilities, and available housing services. And also free pizza and refreshments, so be sure to come in and get to know the information available and connect with City of Albany staff and service providers. We have a long lineup of concerts in the park right around the corner. Our staff has been doing a great job in getting all of these concerts scheduled. As a reminder, this is a free event concert series, 6 to 7:30 p.m. in that perfect window between sundown and dark skies. So bring a blanket or lawn chair, pack a picnic dinner, and make the most of our Memorial Park for these concerts. They will run beginning Wednesday, August 12th, or every Wednesday through September 9th. National Night Out is also right around the corner. This is an opportunity for block parties throughout the city with city staff, primarily public safety, and other staff and council members joining those block parties. So be sure to register for that, as the number of blocks that can host parties quickly fills. You can register at albanyca.gov/NNO 2026. We have our annual sidewalk shaving project scheduled to begin on Monday, July 27th. This helps shave down any offsets to help minimize the potential for tripping hazards, and it's a low-cost way to help stretch the life of those sidewalks a little bit longer as we also work to replace sidewalks. We don't expect any traffic impacts, but please note if you see sidewalk shaving, it may be a little bit noisy as that work goes on. Marin Avenue rehabilitation project, as you can see, is clearly well underway and completed. There are a few final details of this work, including some switchover and removal of old poles, and also working through some rectangular rapid flashing beacon at Ventura. Those are expected to be online in August, and a few more details in terms of signposts and concrete at corners. And finally, an opportunity of a workshop for earthquake multi-unit retrofit grant. I know we've had questions about grant opportunities. This is for owners of older multi-unit residential buildings. It will occur on Wednesday, August 12th at 12 p.m. And this is through the California Residential Mitigation Program. They are hosting a free informational webinar, and more information about this program can be found at crmp.org/EMR, and we will be sure to spotlight this on our city website for those that may need to have that additional information provided, including the Zoom links. And that completes my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any council comments or questions? Do we have any public questions? All right, seeing done, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Brings us to good of the city public comment. This is the time for persons desiring to address the city council on an item that is not on the agenda. Please note city policy limits each speaker to up to 3 minutes. The mayor may reduce the time limit per speaker depending upon the number of speakers. The Brown Act limits the council's ability to take and/or discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items may be referred to staff for comment or to a future agenda item, or to a future agenda, I'm sorry. Comments related to items appearing on the agenda are taken up at the time the city council deliberates each action item. The mayor will announce when the period for public comment is open on each agenda item. Are there any public speakers in the room? Seeing none, are there any online?
No.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. By approval of the consent calendar, the staff recommendations will be adopted unless otherwise modified by the city council. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or a member of the audience requests removal of the items from the consent calendar. Does any council member wish to pull an item? Any members of the public? Any online? No. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve consent calendar?
And a second? I'll second. May we have a roll call, please?
We did want to just clarify one item on the consent calendar. We do want you to approve it, but we'd like to clarify the request.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is on item 7-12, the authorization for easement and agreement with the University of California. We wanted to make a small change to the staff recommendation for this item. A revised staff recommendation changes the name of the agreement to be authorized in Resolution 2026-59 from grant of bikeway easement and agreement to grant of path easement and agreement. And staff will work with University of California staff to finalize agreement language to specify that the easement will serve cyclists, pedestrians, and other path users as acceptable to the university before executing an easement and agreement under this authorization.
Great, thank you very much. With that, may we have roll call, please? Come anytime.
Same motion and second.
Same motion?
Same second.
Okay.
Councilmember Jordan?
Is this consent? Yes.
Thanks for asking.
Sorry. Councilmember Lopez?
Yep.
Councilmember Mickey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hanson Romero?
Yes.
And Mayor McQuaid.
Yes,
And the motion carries.
thank you. We have no presentations. That brings us to public hearing. First public hearing, item 9-1, update to measure F-2006, street paving and storm drain facility improvement special tax. May we have a staff report, please?
Yes, you may. Very zippy council meeting so far. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Arena Schwartz, your Finance Director. This is the first of 4 ballot measure items that you will be addressing this evening. The City Clerk will hopefully be able to pull up a PowerPoint presentation, very brief. As you know, this and the other measures have come to you a number of times, so really there isn't a lot of new information, but really this is just a summary to confirm that we have heard and captured the information that you want. So if we can go to the first slide. For this measure, there are updates both upon election and upon the potential of a triggering event of a large parcel becoming non-taxable. Upon election, adds a renter rebate of 100% for very low income households. Current code only contains the property owner exemption for very low. Applies the tax to possessory interests. This is a question, but there was a request from the council to add in a 50% exemption and rebate for low-income homeowners and renters. That could occur upon election or upon the triggering mechanism, so we'll want to confirm which it is to make sure that the resolution captures that. Changes the indexing to a CPI with a max of 3% with a banked catch-up feature so that if we have few years of low CPI and then a higher CPI, we can catch up a little bit. No change in the estimated revenue or no significant change in the estimated revenue associated with this because there is no change to the overall tax rate. On the next slide, if a parcel greater than 500,000 square feet becomes untaxable, we change to a per lot square footage methodology with a flat per lot square foot charge. No change in the estimated revenue anticipated for that. Both the current rate that's charged under the ERU methodology, the current methodology, and the per lot methodology will both continue to increase. We'll calculate them by that CPI so that if at some point in time we switch to this other methodology, we won't be stuck at 0.0638 per lot square foot 2 years down the line when we've seen those CPI increases, but that amount will get indexed with the CPI measure, and there really are no other anticipated changes. That is the presentation.
Thank you. Are there any council questions? I don't know where to look. Okay, with that, I will open the public hearing. Are there any public comments? Any online? No? I will close the public hearing. Council comments?
So yeah, I went back and watched not sure was this measure or the other measure with the trigger, our deliberations to recover what I actually said. At the time I said it was late in the meeting and a late question or a comment, to implement the 50% tax relief upon the trigger occurring. And I had to go do that because when I first read the measure, I was like, I don't think that's what the council directed, but it is in fact the only statement that was made. And I think the reason that caught my eye when I read it is because I don't really feel particularly good about, raising revenue at the same rate from low-income households as other households. So I'm leaning towards having that occur immediately in the same way that the possessory interest loophole, if you will, gets closed immediately. But I'm interested in hearing other council members' take on that. And while I'm here, I apologize I'm late. I spent Saturday night on the floor of an airport sleeping on the East Coast. So my sense of time is poor at all times, and it is extremely poor now.
Glad you made it.
Yeah.
Are there other comments?
I guess I'm curious just to hear anybody else's opinion on this.
I just want to clarify.
Sure.
So what you're suggesting is instead of waiting for a trigger to add the low income, we would add it now.
Right. Yes.
Is there a pro or pro con on that? Sorry to first throw you under the bus at the last minute, but.
It is an unknown potential cost depending on the number of applications that the city receives for such relief from the tax. The direction was to push it to the point of the trigger, but the unknown exists at whatever time we implement that 50% exemption or rebate.
Any other council comments? Well, seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-61.
I will so move the resolution with the change of implementing the half tax relief for low-income households upon adoption of the measure should the voters approve it.
I'm seeing the city attorney nodding. I'm assuming that was the question, yes.
The resolution that is attached to your package shows the dependency of the 50% on the trigger. So I'm just confirming that with council direction, we can make that amendment to the resolution. I sometimes channel like I play an attorney on TV, but I thought I have an actual one here. I should stop that.
I think that's play one on YouTube now.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, could we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mickey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hanson Romero,
Yes.
Mayor McQuaid,
Yes.
Councilmember Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yep.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That brings us to 9-2. Update to the emergency medical services, advanced life support, and fire protection special tax. May we have a staff report, please?
Yes, similar situation as the tax measure you just discussed. This, in the short term upon adoption or upon approval at the election, will apply the tax to possessory interests. And it doesn't say it on the PowerPoint that's about to just come up. It's in the triggering, but the same conversation about where the 50% or when the 50% exemption or rebate becomes operational. So upon election, applies to possessory interest, changes the CPI to the consistent calculation that we're using. No significant change in estimated revenue. We'll have some from possessory interest, but it's not a major redo of the tax structure or the revenue anticipated. On the next slide, you'll see upon the trigger, parcel greater than 500,000 square feet becomes untaxable. Here, there would be a new rate for building square footage for developed properties, a rate for per lot square foot for undeveloped properties. Rates are indexed, as I said, so we don't fall behind where we are currently if it takes some time before the trigger is reached. Retains the existing very low income exemption and rebates. Here, adds in the 50% exemption rebate for low income homeowners and renters. That question to be answered about whether it happens upon election or upon this trigger mechanism. With the trigger mechanism and the new tax rates, the estimated increase in annual revenue is about $500,000. So that will not come into play until that is reached. That is, I believe, pretty much it. So very similar to the other tax measure, relatively minor changes upon adoption if it's successful at the ballot, more significant changes if that large parcel becomes untaxable.
Are there any council questions? I'm looking over here first. Okay. Oh, wait, I have to open the public hearing? Any public comment? Nothing online. Closing the public hearing. Council comments?
Given our last vote, I would push that we just make the 50% rebate for low-income standard across these, that is not in the event of the trigger. We're just enacting it.
Thank you. Agreed.
Okay. With that, can I get a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-62?
I will move approval of the resolution with the change that the half relief from this tax to low-income households be implemented upon passage should the voters approve.
I'll second.
May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor McQuay,
Yes.
Councilmember Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yep.
Councilmember Mickey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hanson Romero.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. That brings us to item 9-3, business license tax. You again.
I can get my microphone to stay on. Yes, me again. Back again to talk this time about the business license tax. This one is a little more complex in that it is a more significant change to the particular tax in question. So there are a number of components, as the clerk is bringing up the PowerPoint. There are a number of things that are being proposed to change for the business license tax. First, there's really a push in the revision to provide tax relief compared to our current tax system for very or lower income, lower sales, gross receipts businesses than our small businesses currently face. So the rates include for up to the first $50,000 in gross receipts, a $50 base rate, an additional $150 or a $200 base rate for up to $200,000 in gross receipts. Retail businesses, just a note, including public utilities, that's something that was a nuance that we have come across, so just clarifying that. Will be taxed an additional $1 per thousand of gross receipts above the $200,000, somewhat in recognition of the fact that they also contribute by producing sales tax revenue. Other businesses, pretty much everything else except for residential rentals, will be taxed at an additional $5 per thousand in gross receipts above $200,000. So this includes commercial renter, contractor, professional services, pretty much every other category other than retail. Residential rentals will continue to be taxed on a per unit basis. The current rate is $120 per unit. That will be indexed. Everything gets indexed accordingly to ensure that we keep up with inflation. There's an exempt category for nonprofits and a few other categories. And we think this will generate an additional $600,000 or so in new revenue. So there's a little more information on this one, again, because it's a more significant change. So looking at the next slide, really just showing the fact that under our current structure, about 67% of our businesses pay 382 or less. The 382 is chosen because that's kind of the base for the one employee model that we have had. If we look at the next slide, now we're looking at maybe 82% of our businesses, small businesses really, paying less than the 382. So we do see a benefit for those small businesses. We do a better job of scaling. We kind of went from 0 to 382 in the past, and now we go 0, 50, 200, and then up based on gross receipts. So that's just a reminder that this really does allow for greater distribution of that tax burden across the smaller businesses. If we go on to the next slide, just a little reminder, this is just how the rentals will work. It's very easy when it's $120. Gets indexed, the math gets a lot harder to do in your head, but you could probably do this math in your head. So 120 per unit times the number of units. Moving on to the next slide, now we're talking about the little more complicated. There's a lot of numbers on here, but basically it shows small business pays 50, medium small business pays the 200. When you get to a business with $300,000 in gross receipts on the retail side, you've got them paying the $200 plus the 1 per thousand for the additional $100,000 over the $200,000. So that's just how that plays out. On the following slide, there is just, again, a little demonstration of the shift from employee-based to the gross receipts base, does a better job of scaling and doesn't jump up quite so quickly. So you do see those savings accrue for those smaller businesses. On to the next slide, service examples. So again, this is a similar thing, $50, $200, and then you start going to what happens above gross receipts. Business C is up there just as a reminder. We do have businesses that have a combination of both service and retail, and we will make accommodations that will happen through the tax reporting, so they are not paying the $5 per thousand on all of their revenue. If there's retail revenue, if you think about even someone who has a hair salon seat, right? So some of their business is services, right? You pay for the haircut, but you might pay for product. That's a service, and we will distinguish that so they aren't at the $5 per thousand for all of their costs. They're at the appropriate rate for the type of costs that they have. Next slide. What have we gone and done? Retail. Again, this is just a reminder that it will vary, and the goal is to even out that tax burden, so there's not just a quick jump at a pretty low level right up to that 382. And with that, those are the changes, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any council questions? Councilor Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I'm still curious about which businesses this is going to negatively impact the most, and how do we know specifically where those triggers are going to be, and have we heard feedback from those types of businesses?
Generally speaking, we have not heard a lot of feedback. Those with high gross receipts relative to the number of employees. So some of the, I'm trying to remember, I don't have the chart in front of me, but my wizard will probably teams me momentarily.
I'm thinking of like Albany Subaru or, you know.
There are changes to what their the business license tax will be, but it is still such a small percentage of their overall gross receipts that it looks like a big jump in absolute dollar terms, but on percentage basis, it's really a relatively small increase. So the biggest impacts, I want to say, were to grocery stores, and here's my wizard. Here we go. They have a lot of employees, though. Subaru has a lot of employees, is what I'm hearing. So my memory is really it was grocery stores, and there was a question about public utilities, but public utilities drop out because they'll be at the retail rate based on a recent court case. There were some questions around like the brokerage fees in the real estate context. If it's a true pass-through, if it's held on behalf of somebody else, that's not revenue to the business. If it is revenue to the business that then gets spent on costs, whether that's a contractor buying lumber or whether that's, you know, a broker or real estate agent with some actual costs that they would then have to spend to run their business, it applies the same way kind of across the board. So there really isn't any differential impact with respect to kind of how it applies in that brokerage context. We will also be making sure that we have a clear process for apportionment for revenue to be sure that it's generated revenue within the city of Albany, right? So we don't want to be taxing businesses on revenue that they're generating in Berkeley when they would be paying Berkeley something for that, right? So we'll have that apportionment methodology. HDL, as our third-party administrator, has a lot of experience with this, so they're very used to helping businesses walk through that apportionment process. So that's kind of how it plays across a number of those different business types.
Okay, and because also I was thinking about just, you know, off the top of my head, Albany Coin Exchange. I know that she had written in and was concerned because she takes in, you know, certain amounts of money and how that might affect her.
You know, each individual business, I mean, if the business makes a good profit, it makes a good profit. And that, we can't tax on profit. All we can tax on is on gross receipts. And so, you know, the idea is that for every business, they have business costs and they have their gross receipts. And the relationship between those two are really their business plan, right? And so we're just looking across the board at that gross receipts number. So yes, you know, that business will have costs that will take away from their gross receipts, but so will every other business, right? And so there isn't necessarily a differential impact across those business types because it's applied the same way across gross receipts.
And can you remind me what other cities are actually doing the gross receipts in this?
Wizard will momentarily. I'm trying to remember if I think Richmond does. I think Belmont does.
think
Almost all.
There's also a handful of cities in Alameda County that are doing business license tax updates as part of this upcoming November election too. So you could see some similarities there in changes.
Almost all of the similar cities are using a gross receipts. El Cerrito, which may be looking at a business license change as well, is one of the few that's still on employee. That's the one that I know has not yet been changed.
Yeah, the charts that were presented last month,
Bless
or
you.
last
Yeah, I was
meeting
trying to
said
remember.
El Cerrito and Concord are the only two that don't do purely gross receipts. So Concord does gross receipts / employees, so there's some kind of hybrid going on there.
Yeah, I guess I'm still like, how well baked do you feel like this is?
I actually think it's pretty well baked because HDL has done this in so many jurisdictions, and they, this is, their essentially recommended model for moving into the gross receipts arena. And it is a more modern approach typically than the employee. And so they have their experience with the jurisdictions they serve, but they also have statewide data. So, this is, I don't anticipate running into a lot of situations where we're like, oh my gosh, we didn't think of that, or oh my gosh, they've never dealt with that. I think our businesses are going to be very similar to businesses in other communities that have either used HDL to implement business license changes, or that HDL is familiar with through their work statewide on business licenses.
The other benefit, excuse me, there's one more detail there. That we're updating something from the 1980s, so there are many co-benefits in terms of terminology and practicality and how we apply it going forward, which have been constrained with this dated model.
Mayor, I just want to check, are we in questions still? Are we in discussion?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost track.
I've been taking up the question.
No, and that's okay, because you were asking questions, but I realized my follow-ups would start to veer into discussion, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we're
where
not
we
there
were. Okay.
So again, and I'm raising these questions because these are obviously things that I've gotten from the businesses, wanting to know what this really means for them, how might this negatively impact them, and say, for example, this passes and you get a business that comes in and is just like, this is going to ruin me, I've got to leave Albany. Do we have any sort of workaround for certain businesses in that manner, or?
No.
No.
Are there any other council questions? Do they? Okay. Is there any public comment? We are on 9-3, the business license tax. Oh, thank you. Francisco, hold on one second.
Good evening.
Wait, Francisco, hold on a second. I forgot. I need to open the public hearing. Now you can talk. Thank you. I got it in blue. I
Okay.
can't remember.
It seems that this business license tax is really Albany has to pay for the new waterfront park because we lost Golden Gate Field's income, or we will be tax. There will be no added services to the city of Albany for these taxes. All of these taxes that are on the agenda tonight. 1.5 million approximately income is going to be lost, and so now it appears that you figured out 3 or 4 different ways to make that up without actually telling the public the truth, which is we have to plan in advance for this loss. And it would be nice to get that kind of information up front, because I've heard a city council member at a public meeting state that. Let's talk a little bit about a gross receipts tax. We all know what income taxes are. We all pay them. And we pay it on our net money that we take home. Gross receipts tax is on everything that you could possibly tax. with no write-offs. It is unevenly and unfairly distributed amongst businesses, some of whom have high profit margins and some who have no. Some who have high overhead, some who have low overhead. Why is this? Well, I've heard, well, Berkeley does it. Well, I guess that's a good reason to do it, because we all know how well the city of Berkeley runs, and Albany wants to emulate Berkeley in the way they run their city. And I think that's not a good reason. If some cities do it, is not a reason to do it here in Albany. Albany does things better. We do it more fairly. We do it more equitably. And those of you who think that we need more taxes should figure out a way that where you don't punish businesses who operate in this town and do the right thing and make a living and tax maximum money that they take in. No one operates a business like that. No one thinks, oh, how are we going to operate a business and then we'll figure out the gross money we make and that's fine. No, they all calculate the thing called the bottom line. You're taxing not the bottom line, the top line.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any comments online?
No.
Okay, thank you. Oops, I forgot to close the public hearing. Oh, there's it. I'm closing the public hearing. Got one more to do. Council comments.
Yeah, Council Hanson Romero, I want to thank you for the comments that you brought up. I had a chance to talk with a couple of business owners who were just perplexed, right? They needed help walking through the math, helping understand how this shift might work with them. They did not share with me their gross receipts, but I was able to walk them through the shift and what that might mean for them. And while city staff has said there's nothing staff that council can do in terms of exemptions, yes, that's true. But we did build in that we did want to keep the categories in place so that if we realize we have inadvertently put one category of businesses at a real disadvantage, that future councils should the public accept and vote to pass this measure, future councils could choose to adjust the rate on individual categories. So there's downward, yes, always downwards. But in essence, adjusting in case we are inadvertently, because I trust HDL's experience, I trust staff's analysis, but you just never know all the oddities of businesses that might be in Albany. And so I appreciate that staff was willing to accept that and brought that forward, that we still have those categories, so future councils have the ability to make adjustments, because I really don't want to have us as a city go back to the public and ask for new rates. So I appreciate that we have that ability to make adjustments. In response to some of the comments from the public, I mean, I understand. I think if there is a general practice that is used widely across the Bay Area, us working with a consultant who has experience with that and us implementing something like that, I think is an effective way. I will also say that we are very clear in every one of our measures that most of that we are reacting to the loss of Golden Gate Fields funds and making other adjustments that we need to make just to make sure that our city can continue to maintain a positive or at least balanced budget in the future. I was intrigued about Subaru because I was also thinking about that and businesses like that, and I assume that the sales of vehicles and the sales of parts, that's all the retail side, versus the services they provide would be the ones that would be at the slightly higher tax rate. So I'm hoping that that's not as big of an impact, at least on businesses like the Toyota or Subaru dealerships that we have. That also raised the question that I don't know that we ever answered, but the coin exchange, that is a retail business, is that correct? Would that be, the coin exchange, would that be considered a retail business? Because they are selling and buying things, or it's not really a service, is it?
If they're selling products subject to sales tax, it would be that's the easy way to think of it. Like if it's a thing that's subject to sales tax, well, yes, then it would be. that line gets blurred a little bit, but that's an easy way to think of it.
Okay.
And just if I could kind of add in, so, you know, the city's general fund has some sustainability challenges on its own, absent anything that happens with the Golden Gate Fields property. And many of the impacts of the potential of the Golden Gate Fields property becoming untaxable are in our special funds, not our general fund, and so aren't really related to some of these more general taxes. The EMS tax is a bit of a crossover because we have EMS and fire funded both by our EMS tax and our general fund. But while Measure F and Measure K, the two measures that you've already taken action on, are very explicitly have a trigger that is associated with, here's a thing we need to do if this happens, the business license tax and the tax that you'll talk about next are intended to be general tax measures to fund general city services that are not directly implicated in a change associated with Golden Gate Fields, but are really what is the underlying pressure on both expenditures and revenues. Revenues are growing at 3-ish% a year. Expenditures are growing at 4 to 5%-ish a year. That is unsustainable unless we increase the base, regardless of what happens with Golden Gate Fields. So just to kind of put into context that there are some pieces of all of this ballot measure and tax that are really driven very clearly by the Golden Gate Fields conversation, and some of it that is a much broader conversation that has to do with what's facing most communities, certainly in the Bay Area and in California, which is this structural gap between the rate of growth between expenditures and revenues. So I just thought I'd pop that in since I was already talking.
Yeah, I'll just say really quickly, one, thank you staff and HDL for all the labor that's put into this, and of course council colleagues. I want to acknowledge that when this first came to the table, admittedly I was a little lost in the sauce because it felt like all the numbers in front of us were felt a little convoluted at first. But, and you know, that says a lot for someone like me who, like, I love playing with numbers on a daily. And, you know, Councilmember Jordan smiling because he knows what we used to do back in the day at the Berkeley Lab. But after hearing the last couple times HDL, you know, thoroughly walk through this, excuse me, it made it much more easier for me to untangle the numbers with local business owners. I don't know if I'm just more savvy, Councilmember Mickey, but there were a few business owners who I was able to chat with, and you know, they were transparent about what their expected numbers are looking like in employees. And so we were able to sit down and do napkin math with each other. And I think that gave a lot of reassurance in helping them, you know, being able to lean on the reports from HDL, you know, but being able to walk through it. That makes a big difference. And I'm sharing that because I know, and I'm not going to name any of those businesses, not going to out anyone, but I'm sharing that because sometimes the easiest way to make things feel less stressful or less scary is just talking to folks. And I know city staff does a wonderful job already talking to many of our local business owners. I was just talking with someone the other night, and they were giving shout out to city staff visiting for something irrelevant from this. But I think the point being, sometimes the onus does need to be on us as council members to also just chat with our local business owners and know how to properly read the reports and be able to untangle it for folks. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, oh, it's easy to work through, but it does require a little math there, and maybe for some folks a calculator. But it is also fun just playing with numbers with folks. Also, you know, the last thing I will say about this is, City Manager, you had mentioned we're updating something from the 1980s. I think it is about time that we address something this archaic. You know, we have a business license tax structure that's older than me. I don't know if that's saying a lot, but It's around before I touched the ground on this earth, and I was not aware of that and how outdated this was before it came to us. And so I think there is something to be said about catching up with the time, but also making sure that we're being proactive and still leaving the window of opportunity open if we need to make adjustment to decrease, if we see that fit. But I think all in all, we got a pretty well packaged item in front of us to take to our community members to vote on. And I know it was not easy arriving here to this point. So again, thank you, city staff and HDL.
Yeah, I will second that. Thanks to staff and HGL. And I guess there's a little bit of history that's counter to some of the narrative we've heard. I started pursuing restructuring the business license tax essentially upon the voters putting me in the seat, because it always disturbed me that businesses that provide services were taxed the same as business license tax, the same as businesses that provide retail. We already have a tax on retail. Some of those businesses are not high revenue per employee. For instance, restaurants, potentially a lot of restaurants. And so I always wanted to, and then other businesses like an orthodontist office, which is very high revenue per employee, were taxed the same as a restaurant, and that just seemed fundamentally unfair to me. So it took from then until now, for good reasons. Of course, I wanted it to happen sooner, but we had a vendor at one point who was collecting the business license tax funds, fees, or taxes, and there needed to be a transition. HGL is a much better company, and so we didn't have the data before in order to do this in a responsible way, which we do have now. And in no way was my pursuit or getting this onto the council's strategic plan one after another due to Golden Gate Fields. I had no idea Golden Gate Fields, something might happen there. People have been saying something might happen there in 5 years for the whole 30 years I've been here. So it had nothing to do with that. It was simply rationalizing the tax, making it more fair. And then, as the finance director said, because of Proposition 13, the ad valorem property tax revenue, which is the property tax revenue based on the value of a property, can only go up 2% per year on a property. So we're constantly falling behind. So this is a structural issue for all cities in California. And so we joined together a lot of different purposes in this one tax of raising revenue and making it more fair. I don't know if the commenter heard the part of the presentation that 82% of businesses in Albany will receive a tax cut if the voters should choose to pass this. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me for the small business community in Albany. So I don't see this as trying to punish certain businesses. I see this as trying to rationalize what all the businesses pay so that it's more fair, given the limitations on the city that we cannot tax revenue, as I now understand the term, which some might call profit, I guess. This is the best we can do. We can only approach it so closely given the strictures that are on the city from the Constitution, as I understand it, state Constitution.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do you have any comments?
I was just wondering if you could bring up those slides again, just to review really quick. I know maybe that's a question, but I just wanted to go through them one more time so I could.
All of them?
Well, let's look at kind of the differences, where it was and where.
Slide 6, I think, and slide 7, starting in that realm. So this just gives you the retail side of the picture. Yes, that's 6. If you go to slide 7, you can see where, so the per employee rate creates this one big jump in that cost that we now spread out over all of our small businesses that don't immediately have to jump to 382. That's the biggest gain for your small businesses right there, right? So we're going to capture a lot of folks who were, your choices were sort of 0 or 382, and now it's going to be 50 or it's going to be 200. And that's where you see that a greater percentage of the businesses will be paying less than that 382, will be paying a smaller amount by rationalizing it. And it does make the distinction, which I think you can see on maybe slide 8. You can really see the distinction of how it plays out across general business categories versus retail, right? So again, while it collapses the number of categories of business licenses from, I don't know, 50 or some ridiculous number to 5 or 6, and really 2 with the ability to further distinguish if we need to. But it does draw a significant distinction where businesses are selling something. And so that retail component really does help. Again, kind of even out for those businesses that are selling anything. So I don't know if there were other of these examples you wanted to go through.
Can we see the renter one, or that
So that's
property?
5. Very good. I don't even have to, just go clerk. There is nothing changing about residential rentals. 0, zip. So that's my favorite to explain.
Yes, that's right?
The 120 will get indexed as it has been, but the concept is the same. It's just per unit.
And the nonprofits, again, were
Exempt. They will still be required to get a business license, but there is no tax. So they're not exempt from a business license. They are exempt from the business license tax. We do try to maintain that language. Not sure how successful it is, but technically they are not exempt from the business license. They are exempt from the business license tax.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
If I may, one other item.
Sure.
So the commenter said that the prospective loss to the city if the Golden Gate Fields properties become untaxable is $1.5 million. The property tax bills are available for everybody online. It's a matter of public record. It's actually closer to 1.1 million. There's a number of things on there. There's a lot of lines on there. Some of those lines would go away, and some of those lines would not go away. So for instance, some of those lines were fees, not taxes. And so any entity that connects to the city sewer system, as I understand it, is subject to the city's fees. And so that would continue. So you need to take all those into account. The two measures that this body placed on the body prior to this item, if those properties go untaxable, would be about $700,000 of revenue that would be closed at that 1.1 million. I won't go into the rest, but I just want the narrative that's out there to be based on facts.
Okay. Again, I'll just add my thanks to staff and to our consultant. We looked at this maybe 6 years ago, 4 years ago, a long time ago. And well, I wasn't here all the times. And we just couldn't we just couldn't do it for a variety of reasons. So I'm happy that it's here now. I think it's the best we can do. And with that, I would look for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-63.
So moved.
I'll second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Hanson Romero,
I'm still on. I think this is going to help a lot more than not, so yes.
Mayor McQuay,
Yes.
Councilmember Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yep.
and Councilmember Mackey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And that brings us to item 9-4, real property transfer tax. May we have a staff report one more time?
Why, yes, you may. Good evening, Mayor and Council. No, just kidding. This item is a proposed change to the real property transfer tax that the city, as a charter city, has the ability to impose. This one has been a bit through the ringer, but here we are. The current city real property transfer tax is assessed at $15 per thousand sale value for the sale of property, commercial and residential. Just as a note, and you'll see it on one of the other slides, it historically has been framed as a dollar amount per thousand. That is the same, so 15 per thousand is the same as 1.5%. You can say it either way. They mean exactly the same thing. I don't know why real property transfer taxes have always been framed as a per thousand, but they have been. So just know, and you'll see that on the charts, that's the same. So the proposal that we have heard from the council and that is reflected back to you this evening is to create a set of tiers. So other jurisdictions do have tiered rates. There are, I think, 27 jurisdictions in the state that have a real property transfer tax. You have to be a charter city in order to implement it, and not all charter cities have done so. But a number of them have tiered rates at various ways. The tiers that we landed on after much discussion were essentially the bottom 25%, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 90, and 90 to 100. So it creates 5 tiers. They're not all the same size from percentages if you look at them that way. But for the lowest 25%, it drops the current real property transfer tax from what it is at $15 per thousand, or 1.5% to 1%. For the second tier, it leaves it where it is, and then it ramps it up slightly each time you go up one of those tiers, with that top tier being just the top 10%, the 10% most expensive transfers of property to a 3% of the value. It looks like a fabulous revenue source. I'm going to say, you look at that number, you think, oh my gosh, we're going to get $1 million. It is a very volatile source. So just remember that that's what we anticipate, but what we already saw in FY26 is that property sales / additions to property value were down a little bit, so we didn't see quite as much real property transfer tax revenue in 26 as we did in 25, but it's starting to pick back up again. So we just got our June transfer tax remittance, and it was back up a little bit. So I would caution us to be just thoughtful about how we think about this. I wouldn't plan a spending spree anytime soon, but it is a robust revenue source. So those are the tiers that are proposed. If we go to the next slide, it's another way of looking at the same information, which is to say the lowest 25% are at that 1%, or $10 per thousand, et cetera, and you go all the way up. So above 90%, you get to that 3%. The language in the measure has the tiers being established each year based on a 12-month period running from, so January 1st of 27. It will be based on September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2026. Just say that very carefully to get those years right. With a 12-month essentially rolling calculation, it will be, again, more volatile than a 3-year would be, but it more accurately reflects the market. So we may see more up and down, but it is it gets closer to when the changes are actually happening in the market. So in some ways, it's more appropriately reactive potentially to the market or responsive to the market. So each year we would prepare those after we get our August 31st submittal, and we would move forward. The next slide just shows what the current rates would be, current tiers would be based on, because we haven't been through August of this year yet. So from September 21st, 2024 through August 31st, 2025, those are the tiers, and those are how the revenue values change, right? So we drop for that lowest tier, and then we move our way up. And that is the proposal that is reflected in the resolution. It continues to be an area of interest statewide, so there may be changes in legislation that come, but there could always be changes in legislation that come. And so with what we know will be on the ballot in November, this would be compliant and we would be able to move forward. It is a general tax measure for general city dollars, not for a special purpose. Requires a 50% vote. That was true on the business license too. The other two were 2/3 votes at the ballot, but just FYI, this is a general tax. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor?
Okay, thank you. So like, say everything, God forbid, like everything tanks, right? Then what happened? Like, and the tiers are still in place and
So if starting now, we went into a property recession, let's just call it that, then when we set the rates for 2027, they would be higher because we've had good growth. But a year from now, we would see our tiers drop, and so there would be a corresponding likely reduction in the amount of revenue we would receive. So that's going to be, the real property transfer tax is going to be a source of revenue where we can expect to see potentially larger swings in the amount that we receive each year. That's what the implications are going to be. It'll lag a little bit because it's on that 12-month period, but once you catch up to that, the thresholds drop and the dollars will drop. If properties aren't selling, same thing could happen even without the rate tiers changing. So if we're going to lose value, if there's another major recession, we're going to lose regardless of whether this is in place or whether our current structure is in place. A little more volatile with this tiered structure, but it doesn't fundamentally change the underlying volatility of the real estate market.
and this is both commercial and residential.
This is both commercial and residential.
Okay.
And what cautions would you give to us switching from a 1-year average to a 3-year average?
3-year average is going to even things out so that you don't have the same kind of potential swings. You will be slower to potentially, honestly, because the values are going to shift too, as well as the tiers. I don't know that it actually creates that much more volatility than exists in the underlying market itself. it evens it out a little bit, so you could have a couple of good years and then a bad year and still have tiers that are pretty high. But if your property values are then starting to decline, you're going to push down into those lower tiers anyway. So it's really a question of how fast the tiers respond to the changes in the market. I don't know in the grand scheme of things that it makes a tremendously significant difference. 3-year average would be slightly less volatile, but the 1-year average keeps you closer to what's happening in current market conditions.
If I could, when a rising market, which has been,
This is discussion or question?
well, this is going to give you more information in response to your question. I guess we could do that during deliberation.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Do you have any questions?
Sorry.
You are on it. Any questions? Okay, I will open the public hearing.
Good evening. Golden Gate Fields is being sold for $175 million. According to your plan, the city would gain $5.25 million in transfer tax. Not going to get it. If you sold it on the existing one, it would be $2.65 million. If it's sold for $175 million to a tax-paying entity, they'd be paying $525,000 a year, just in ad valorem taxes alone, extra to the City of Albany. Think about it. That's what we're giving away. We've just signed off, sayonara, Golden Gate Fields, we'll pay for everything. And that tax basis that's gone will be gone forever. Now, the second thing I want to tell you about is multifamily homes. Multiple unit homes will probably, the six unit and above homes would fall into the 3% bracket. I wish that was in the report, because then you'd be able to understand that the cost of rental housing, you just tacked on an extra 1.5% to the cost of rental housing. Affordability, do you care about affordability? No. It's just talk, and you figure out a way to tax. Oh, we can tax the rich. It's okay. It'll never trickle down. Well, yes, when you tax this stuff, it will. And when the commercial entities sell for those big numbers, what are they going to do? They're going to have to get that money back as well in rents for commercial, like restaurants and retail stores and mom and pop this and that. I mean, this is, again, we've just given away this, we're all willingly able to give away a major $175 million tax basis is gone out. And I haven't heard a word from the city council calling to our state representative saying, what are you going to do to the city of Albany to compensate for this loss of revenue? Oh, according to Preston, it's only 1.1 million, according to his calculation. Well, I'll let you call it that. What about the million to the schools? Do you think now you're adding these taxes and raising this revenue and spending it, the schools are going to have to come up with an extra million? Think about it. Who's looking out after everybody when we give away the store? The store meaning the commercial real estate in Albany, Golden Gate Fields, so that everybody in the East Bay can have a free park.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any comments online?
No.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. Are there any council comments?
On the 1 versus 3 year, in a rising market, it would mean that fewer properties would fall in the tier where they really belong, in essence, if you did a 3-year average. In general, my lifetime has been a rising market. Yes, there's been exceptions, but generally it's a rising market. So I think the 1 year does a better job, as the finance director said, of keeping with the market. In terms of the ad valorem, well, first of all, in terms of Golden Gate Fields, it's a private entity. They can sell the property to whoever they want. We can't control that. In terms of the ad valorem, the current portion of the ad valorem general revenue that the city receives, there's a 1% tax on the property, and that's the limit that can be levied by Proposition 13, collected by the county. The city gets, it varies from year to year, it's about 12% of that 1%, which is under $100,000 currently, because the assessed value is $58 million. So if it didn't sell, that's what we've lost. We've lost like $80,000 a year in general revenue. So I don't know where over $500,000 comes from the ad valorem tax. That's not anything like what the city would get, even if it went to $175 million assessed value. As far as the school district, again, you can look at the property taxes, and its loss is more like $800,000, not $1 million. That may be quibbling, but again, I think it's important that we speak from the facts that are publicly available.
Thank you. Public comment is closed.
So,
Public comment is closed. Vice Mayor, do you have a comment? We'll come back to you.
I was just going to say, thank you, Councilman Jordan. I also appreciate staff's response because it actually helps me think about it a little bit differently. I was thinking about that the tiers would drop slower on the dropping sales, but as staff mentioned, we're also going to have fewer sales. So like the amount of money that we're getting is going down anyways. And so I'm much more comfortable keeping it at the 1 year increment versus doing a 3-year average, because on a 3-year average, we would lose the uptick, and we, in theory, with a slowing market and prices for selling less, we're still going to lose money, and our adjustments are going to be slower. So I'm comfortable with the 1 year average.
I was wondering if the slide could go up again in terms of if this should pass, where the breaks are currently between the tiers. I know those might change because we're not at August 31st.
Right, just based on last year's values, the tiers are at 950, 1.375, 1.8.
Yeah. So yeah, in my way, because I don't have access to the kind of data that you do, but in my way, I went through a few years of sales data as available to a member of the public. And I was really surprised to see that there's 12 residence buildings that are on Washington. There was one that sold recently for $2 million. I had no idea that those buildings sold for so little. So I just wanted to see where Tier 5 was in relation to that $2 million sale value. In terms of the ballot question, I have one suggested change, which is that, I can get there. Can I get there? I will get there. Okay. It says, shall a measure increasing the city's real property transfer tax rate from $15 to between $10 and $30 per thousand purchased. Well, the change to 10 is a decrease. So I think it should say, shall a measure changing the city's real property transfer tax rate from $15 to between $10 and $30.
Nitpicky, but I like the word adjust as opposed to change. People don't like
What was that nitpick?
the word adjust as opposed to change.
Just. Great.
People don't like
Fine.
change.
Yeah,
We're adjusting.
fine. Something that's neutral or that admits for both the increase and the decrease.
Yeah. Well, decreasing, maintaining, and increasing. Because for some people,
Right.
the tax rate stays the same.
Yeah, sure.
I think the question is, do we have to, we may have to say that there's an increase because of the piece that is increasing. So saying that should this be like adjusting the rate down and increasing the maximum rate. That's where I was trying to go, is do we need to keep the word increase in related to the maximum rate? That would be the only thing, the question that I would have for the fabulous BBK attorney, who we have been peppering with changes nonstop for weeks, about whether or not we need to specifically say increase.
I don't think so. I can try to confirm if is that the only change that we're looking at?
The only change I'm raising.
I
Exactly.
I was gonna, I know we've finished with questions, but one just suddenly popped up. Do we have a count of how many properties just in the last year sold for that top tier?
I do, but I don't have it with me. There are, I'm not sure the wizard can, I'm not sure I can tell her where the file is, where that would be. But if we have,
It's 10% of the total number of properties that's sold.
right, and I'm trying to remember the
Okay.
total number of properties that, I want to say it's like, let's just say 125 perhaps. So it's a dozen-ish.
And I know we've talked about this a lot before, but what's everybody's feeling on like the top tier? I'm still like, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I forgot we created that tier, so I was a little surprised to see it here.
Yeah, I'm kind of
I
like
didn't go back
feeling
and
like we
review that
don't
recording.
need that top tier, that
I mean, I don't know. So maybe you could bring up the revenue for each tier, because then from that we calculate if we just eliminate that top tier, like if we take a sixth of that top tier's revenue off, then what would be the impact of that?
She's gonna blow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I'm remembering
on one
the
of those slides,
spreadsheet. I want to say it would be several 100,000 potentially.
wasn't there a slide that had that?
No,
Oh, I thought there was a slide that had like the revenue that would come from each.
I don't think so, unless it
It showed
did.
the revenue at $15 and showed the revenue.
Oh, well, it did. Well, look at that.
Okay.
Hey.
So what is 1/6 of the revenue from the top tier?
I can't do math in my head right now.
Yeah, that's
6 into 12, 200,000.
okay. So we're talking a $200,000 difference. Yeah, sure.
Yes, it's slide 4, Madam Clerk. And so it would, yeah, it's not, so if you're dropping it back to 25 is what you're saying, thank you. You're doing math faster than my brain is doing math, but I caught up. Yeah, it would be a couple 100,000.
118,000, is that what the difference?
No, it'd be more than that. It would be
No, it's-
1/6 of that, and since it's about 1.2 million, then that would be 200,000. Yeah, I can only say that at LBL, I'm like the dumbest person in the room, so that helps to
Yeah.
push me.
But I would say that that's looking back at, I mean, the top there is either going to be the extraordinarily expensive single-family house, which we only get every once in a while, but it is going to be highly dependent on the number of commercial buildings, whether that's 4, 6, 12 residential units or a purely commercial building. And that is more volatile. So in some years, we might get a lot. So I don't.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it makes that tier break more volatile year to year. So not only the revenue, but the tier, is the tier break 2.3 million this year, and then you don't, you have 3 properties that don't sell at the highest level the next year, and so that tier can really change dramatically.
But I think we need to leave it in there at this point. Looking at what may be coming, that we want to be sure that we get the max out of any events that may be happening. Large scale, thank you. Any large scale transfers. That's, I think, what the reason that's there.
Because, I mean, that could be a number that's the difference between, a $5 million property sells. That's 0.5% of five, so that's how much we're talking about potentially.
Or 100.
Those are only going to happen like once every 20, 30, 40 years. And so it is a question about whether or not we want to try and maximize when those sales happens.
I think we have to. I mean, that's a once-in-a-generation opportunity.
Yeah, so I guess, I haven't been clear on that. If a nonprofit buys a property in the city, that transaction is subject to this tax, I presume.
That's been the read that we've gotten on it, is that it is the seller is not a nonprofit.
Okay, that's the key. So even if a government agency should buy a piece of private property, it is subject to the tax. It's the current read.
Is that the seller is the triggering decision point, if you will. If it's sold to a taxable entity that then sold it back to a private,
Right.
then you don't get it.
Okay.
But in this case, we're going from a private owner to a public owner. The private owner is subject to the provisions of the tax.
I thank my colleagues for raising my consciousness.
Okay, are there any other comments?
I was just thinking maybe did that tier 5 need to start a little higher? Or, I mean, yeah. Just like 2.3 seems, I mean, I've seen some things going recently, so, but then we get a lull here and there, and I'm just like wondering if we're going to have more of those 2, 3, but I guess that adjusts anyway, right?
Yeah, it'll adjust. It's
just
10%.
10%.
So it's that top 10%. Right now, that top 10% looks like that number.
Gotcha.
A year from now,
That could be a totally different
it
number.
will look different from that. And it does, that top tier will be by far the most volatile, because if you think about the year in which Belmont Village sold, so that was 2 tax years ago now, we got an extra 1-point-something million in property transfer tax that year, because that was a sale that was way above that. That'll bump it up for a year and then back down. So that's gonna, if you stay with the 10%, it will just rise and fall as that market within a year of it each time.
I think for me, that's the really important piece, that these numbers are not the numbers. These are the numbers today. And
These are the percentages,
right,
25, 50, et cetera.
Not with the numbers, yeah.
but the numbers still go up and down, right?
Yes.
And I think that's what's sort of clicking in my brain now, that, okay, these are not necessarily the numbers, these are today's numbers. And with that, would someone like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-64?
I just want to clarify that we can change it to adjusting.
Oh, wow. That was fast. Nice. Right on, city attorney and BBK. I don't know if you have a wizard back there somewhere. All right.
It's like a little puppet show going on.
That's right, yeah. All right. So moved, the resolution with the direction to change increased to adjusted, or like language.
Well, how about not like language?
Okay.
Is it just?
That specifically?
word? Okay.
And I'll second.
Adjusting.
Adjusting,
Okay.
Great. You're good with adjusting? Yep. All right. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Lopez,
Yep.
Councilmember Mackey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hanser Romero,
Yes.
Mayor McQuaid,
Yes.
Councilmember Jordan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business, which brings us then to new business. Item 11-1, Council Subcommittee or Committees for the Preparation of Ballot Measure Arguments on the November 3rd, 2026 General Municipal Election. Staff recommendation is the council assign a council subcommittee or subcommittees to prepare written arguments for the 6 ballot measures as identified in resolutions number 2026, 29, 51, 61, 62, 63, and 64, per the rules set in each of the said resolutions. May we have a staff report, please?
I think you just said it all in the recommendation. Well, as you said, this discussion item before you is to assign City Council Subcommittee to prepare for primary and/or rebuttal arguments for the upcoming election ballot measures, and including the council's earlier actions from council's action from earlier this meeting. There are 6 ballot measures, which I listed in the staff report. The council has the option of assigning one subcommittee of the council to author multiple arguments, or may wish to assign a variety of different subcommittee of the council to author the arguments. Thank you.
Are there any council questions for staff? Or
Sorry, a quick question for, maybe this was in the backup, but what are the deadlines for submitting arguments for and then rebuttals?
It is August 14 and August 21st,
Thank you.
and at 12, yeah, 12 noon.
Okay. No.
Okay, are there any public comments? Any comments online?
No.
Okay. So as we move into council comments, I just want to make a comment to start. And what I want to say is that we're putting a multitude of, that's probably too strong, but we're putting several tax measures on the ballot in November. And I want to express, and I believe I'm speaking for all of us, that we take this really seriously, and that we understand that times are tough and people are struggling, but we feel that we need to do this for the health of our city, to provide the services this community wants. And we appreciate our community. You have always stepped up, and we really appreciate that. So with that, but I just want people to understand that we don't take this lightly, that we understand that we're asking a lot of our community, and that we appreciate you. Now, my first question to the council, is anyone planning to oppose the ballot measure? To write against it? Okay, great. Just wanted to say that before we got into the rest of the discussion. So what is the pleasure of the council? Is it to have one subcommittee for each measure, or one for all of them, or a combination? What is your pleasure? And you're jumping right in. Tell us what you want.
Yeah, sure. I would suggest for the 2 measures with the trigger provision that the same subcommittee do both of those, because there's interactions between them that can be brought out and provided to the voters to consider in the argument for the measures. So that would be my preference for those.
Are you offering to work on those?
Sure.
Okay. Can you just,
Yeah.
for all of us,
Yeah.
reiterate
Which those
is
ones
which?
are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the measure to update the street paving and storm drain facility improvement special tax, and the measure to update the emergency services advanced life support and fire protection special tax. Includes a number of provisions we talked about, but the main provision is really to have Should a property over 500,000 square feet in the city become untaxable, then that would trigger a restructuring of those taxes.
Okay, great. So we also have street trees and street lights. Is someone interested in working on that?
Can we list out all 6?
Sure. So we've got paving and EMS. I'm just going to summarize them real briefly. Street trees, transfer, business. Don't hesitate to jump in, folks.
What the measure, Measure D, the Measure D, zoning.
It's not a tax, but yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, look at that.
That works.
Somebody's paying attention.
I would volunteer for the street trees and street lights.
Okay. You here, John.
Look at that.
Okay, anyone want to jump in on transfer?
I think I want to jump in on that one.
I'm sorry, you do or you don't? You do, okay. Business?
And I'd like to be part of that one as well.
Okay, great.
Just I want to make sure that there's clarifications of things.
So would someone like to work with Preston on his two?
Preston, if you got time, I got time to work on argument for both of those together.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, Preston and Rodman.
And I guess just for the math, with 6 measures, we need 12. There's 12 slots. There's 5 of us, so it's about 2.5 slots per. So each of us has to take 2 to 3.
We don't have to take any.
And the
I can work on Measure D.
okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say, John?
Measure D.
Okay, actually, those were the two that I thought I'd be most interested in, so I can partner with you on those if
Okay.
you're, are you okay with that?
Yep.
I think
And then-
you were also saying the street trees and street lighting when you said partner with him on both of them. Is that what you meant?
Right, street trees
Okay.
and Measure D.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking up there to make sure we get recorded, and then I think the vice mayor volunteered for
Yeah,
that.
the real property tax, transfer tax should have my name there too. Excuse me.
Okay, so would somebody like to work with the vice mayor on those so she's not all by herself?
Yes, I'm happy to work on whichever of them. I could work on both of them, but then I'd have 4. So,
What,
if you have a preference.
perhaps the property transfer tax, you can work with me on it. And
Okay.
John, I was wondering if maybe you would partner with me on the business license.
Sure.
Great.
Okay, that's John. Okay. Do we need a motion for this? Okay. Then I'll accept a motion to define who's doing what.
I can make the motion based on, thankfully, because the clerk has put it up there. So the following subcommittees would be appointed to work on each of the following measures as described. So update to Measure D. Subcommittee would be Councilmember Mickey and Mayor McQuaid for the street trees and street lighting. Property tax to fund street trees and street lighting. The subcommittee to prepare the measure for would be Mayor McQuaid and Councilmember Mickey. For the measure that would change the property tax that funds street paving and storm drain improvements, the subcommittee would be Councilmember Lopez and Councilmember Jordan for the measure that would restructure the property tax to fund emergency medical services, advanced life support, and fire protection. The subcommittee would be Councilmember Jordan and Councilmember Lopez For the restructuring of the business license taxes, the committee would be Vice Mayor Hanson Romero and Council Member Mickey. And for the measure that would restructure the real property transfer tax, the committee preparing the argument for the measure would be Vice Mayor Hanson Romero and Council Member Jordan.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mackey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hanson Romero,
Yes.
Mayor McQuaid,
Yes.
Councilmember Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yep.
and the motion carries.
Great, thank you. Okay, and that brings us to item 12, council subcommittee reports. Council member reports on appointed representation of Albany and other meetings and events. And we'll start with Councilmember Mickey.
I have no updates.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yeah, I got a pretty healthy report coming out of our most recent AVA board meeting earlier this month. We are happy to announce that with the motion by Councilmember Berkeley Igor Tregu and a second by myself, we were able to add an additional $3 million in bike rebates to the highly prolific program run by AVA for the e-bike rebate program. And I want to note that Albany, though we account for 1% of within the AVA territory of customers, we got about 2% of the vouchers so far in our city. And to give that a raw number, that's about 114 folks who now have who were given vouchers to now have access to e-bike and alternative transportation options. And in the grand scheme of things, 114 people only representing 2% of the vouchers that are gone out, it's pretty phenomenal. Almost 5,800 vouchers have been given out as of our last meeting. I know there's another drawing coming up. I'm mentioning all this because with the additional $3 million that's going to be put into the program, that extends the program by another year, which allows us to do more targeted outreach in in other parts of our service area that aren't as well represented in the voucher collection, which is Tracy and Stockton. So we are trying to be more intentional about that. AVA staff is trying really hard to make sure that the percentages line up as closely as possible with vouchers and with service residents within the service area. So just throwing it out there and hoping folks take advantage of it in the next drawing that comes up, or at least for the next through the end of 2027. Also, we weren't able to vote on this, but City of San Leandro is pushing to go off of their default program of Renewable 100 to Bright Choice, which does have a bit of a revenue impact for AVA in a positive sense, but just highlighting that because in Albany our default is Renewable 100. I'm certainly not entertaining or coming close to ever entertaining getting off that default, but I want to make sure I'm transparent about that. That this is the choice of San Leandro's, and I do support what our partner cities within our AVA board opt to do if they feel that's best for their community. And for folks who are following AVA energy meetings, there was a bit of a, I'd say, little dust kick up about a eco-block grant that was provided to an entity called EcoBlock. There were concerns about it not being a proper process grant-wise, but our AVA CEO did make very clear that it may have been labeled as a grant, but it was a very different process that allows him to give contracts up to, I believe, $2 or $2.5 million. And so that's where it came about. Just want to make sure that's clear because I did get several Albany residents that had messaged me about that and their concerns. They do support that funding is going to EcoBlock. They just would have preferred better transparency. And so our AVA CEO did own up to that and provided as transparent as possible information on the process and how it's quite different from an actual request for proposals process. And then lastly, and this is what I mean, it's a very healthy meeting full of a lot. AVA is required to submit their integrated resource plan analysis, and so that coming down the pipeline being finalized. So we had our analysis presentation at our last meeting. I won't labor into the data or the information. It's there. The spreadsheets are on their agenda packet. It's a lot to go through. But I want to acknowledge that one of the bottlenecks with the clean system power calculator that's being used is that it's a California Public Utilities tool. And so it has presented a couple obstacles with AVA staff trying to produce a nice clean analysis. But it did lead to conversations or the ideas that maybe we should be looking into geothermal sources. So I would not be surprised if in the next several years that looked to be seriously explored as part of the portfolio for AVA. And I know I just said a mouthful there, but the integrated resource plan, that is what we're supposed to use to try to estimate our greenhouse gas emissions and other local air pollutants. So it is a very important analysis that must be submitted. Every CCA or California Choice Association needs to submit it. And I do think this is worthwhile information that our community should be looking into and making sure that it reflects our values. So highly encourage everyone else, if you have time and have the energy, to seep through the data and the worksheet that are linked on the most recent agenda packet. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do you have a report?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. We at stopwaste.org had a wonderful presentation on the California date labels that are changing. Sell-by will no longer be shown to consumers with some exceptions, and now labeling is going to go to best if used by, as well as safety dates used by, so that we can reduce the amount of food that is tossed away that's still good, because there's a lot of times where people will be, oh, well, this was a sell-by date. Does that mean it's still good? And, you know, it's left a lot of questions for a lot of people. So this is AB 660, creates a clear, consistent date labels so you can waste less food and keep more money in your pocket. And for more information, please visit stopwaste.org.
Yeah, it's like a commercial. Okay, thank you. Councilman Jordan?
Yeah, I'm renowned in my family for going way past the date.
The heebie-jeebies.
I refer to myself as, yeah, like, mountain biking will take care of it. I'll just burn that stuff up. So the Mosquito Abatement District met early this month, and we approved a change in compensation for the general manager based on his performance. I'm not sure if general manager is right title, but of an increase of 4%. Perhaps more interestingly to Albany, kindly I received an email, I believe from an El Cerrito city resident, who was emailing surrounding governments about a West Nile virus detected in a dead crow in southern El Cerrito. So I took the opportunity to ask staff in that meeting, and they said they don't generally go out and do inspections in areas that are close to a single crow that is found, fortunately deceased crow that is found to have West Nile virus, because crows fly for such a distance. If it's something like another corvid, like a blue jay, they have a much smaller territory, and so they will in that case. And so that allayed my concern a little bit, but I do want to emphasize to people that you shouldn't have standing water around your house in any containers. There are mosquitoes that can live their whole overall life in a cap full of water, like a soda bottle or water bottle cap. And so please do eliminate standing water if you find any, and if you think you might have some, please go out and look. And the Planning, Policy, and Legislative Committee of the Alameda County Transportation Commission did not meet this month.
Thank you. Not a lot happening this month, I guess. I attended the town hall with Congresswoman Simon, along with council members Jordan and Lopez. It was a very nice event. Attended the mayor's conference and the working group on homelessness, and we continue to work with the Board of Supervisors on clarity around Measure W. And we do have a guest speaker tonight. Dee Dee Pansino is here from our representative on the Alameda County Paratransit Advisory and Planning Committee. So come on up and give us your report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. And I've been happy to serve on PAPCO. It's been a really good experience for me. I've enjoyed it. So we've had a very busy fiscal year 25-26. I'm going to do a look back and then a look ahead at 26-27. We approved with conditions all cities in North and Central County for Measure BB funds and budget presented in April, except for Alameda City. They had a few contingencies, and they'll have a mid-year progress check in January, and they've been notified about that. Let's see. We have a paratransit discretionary grant program. It runs in 5-year cycles. We're kind of approaching the mid-year date. Really interesting, the project types that could be funded: mobility management, travel training, volunteer driver program, taxi subsidy, also unique transportation gaps. This is how Emeryville got funding for a new bus. So the next time we can put in a grant for this for a bus for Albany would be in 2029. So I'm just kind of earmarking that because our bus is 2009. So it's older than my car. And that's saying a lot. So, we have to think about that. And Emeryville got $132,000, which wouldn't even fully purchase a gas bus, but it got it a good way to purchasing a bus, which is great. Let's see. The other thing is that we've worked really hard on Alameda County Mobility Needs Assessment for older adults and people with disabilities. We had, I want to say, about 24 different categories. We narrowed down to 5 with mobility management, transportation programs, affordability and fares, safety, security, and infrastructure, and technology as being the top priorities. And mobility management is really, really important. We're looking at how do we keep people independent and how do we, improve quality of life or at least maintain it. And it is through mobility management. So that is looking ahead at 26-27. There's going to be a joint PAPCO and Paratech meeting, open house, focusing on strategies for the 5 top hitters. And the one we're really going to focus on is mobility management. So that'll be good. Keenan will be there, Keenan McCarran representing Paratech, and I'll be there with PAPCO for Albany. So we're looking at that. And if you have anything that you'd like to contribute for mobility management, you can reach out to me and just let me know. Let's see. We will have some other stuff, just kind of normal stuff, and then we have our annual program plan for Measure BB funds. That's going to be presented by all cities in the spring of 2027. So again, we'll be looking likely for Keenan to go ahead and present that. And he did a great presentation last time, so that was good. And then we vote on that and do our final approval in June of 27. We'll do an annual review of the Paratransit Discretionary Grant Program. That's the 5-year program. So again, we can't put anything in until 2029. And I have, again, earmarked for us bus. And then for watching, prioritizing future paratransit needs in conjunction with the growing senior population. coupled with future funding concerns and raising costs. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay.
I just want to thank Committee Member Pansino for all the work you do, and she's also kept me apprised of what goes on in the PAPCO. I haven't been able to respond a lot of the time, but I want to let you know I read it, and I have taken action where I can because of the information you provided in my
Great.
work on the commission. So we are working in partnership, even if I don't always get back to you. And
That's fine. That's
I really
great.
appreciate you representing Albany because it had been so long that we'd had no representation. And not only you representing, you're doing a real energetic job. So thank you.
Well,
very
thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I've met some great people and made some friends, and it's a way to kind of make a difference in a different kind of arena than Friends of Albany Seniors and Friends of Albany Library. So
It can be exciting because you can have impact over a larger scale. So
exactly. And it's kind of interesting seeing how other cities are doing and that their needs are very similar to ours, but a little bit different. There's different nuances, you know. So it's good. I've enjoyed it.
Well, I'll add my thanks. Done a great job,
Thank you.
and we appreciate your work.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate having been appointed and also serving. So thanks.
Okay.
And hopefully she'll continue to do so.
I was going to say,
You're doing it great. Hopefully you'll continue to do so.
Yeah.
If I'm reappointed, which I can be, because my term comes up in 27. So
okay, good to know. You said you've been enjoying it, so I'm like, keep enjoying it.
well, there's some appointees on PAPCO who've kind of continuously been reappointed for years. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's your future if you want it.
I'm enjoying it. It's
Okay.
fun. Oh, thanks.
Okay, that brings us to future agenda items. Any from the council? Any from the audience? Any online? Okay. Upcoming meetings, our next meeting is September 8th. Any other meetings are on the website. So we are adjourning at 8:05, and as we adjourn, I just want to wish everybody a nice break. We have about, 5-6 weeks to catch our breath, work on our ballot measures, get a little vacation time, hopefully, so see you. No, there's no rest. So we'll see you back here September 8th at 7 o'clock. Oh, did I look at you? All right. Okay, that we're adjourned.